My campaign, Heroes of Erland, has been my biggest and probably my most successful campaign to date. It started the day the 4th edition books were released, back in May of 2008. Over the 3.5 years, we have done so much. We have gone through so many adventures, dungeons, and different role-playing scenes. It has been a tremendous story, which developed and evolved so many times. It has gone from the party being part of an Order of Bane, which sought to conquer all of the Kingdom of Erland, to a war in which the Abyss spilled over into the world, to the party being totally reformed after the war as mighty champions and guardians of good. During the last session we played, the storyline culminated with the party fighting Orcus and then hitting level 30. This has led me to reflect upon the campaign, upon my DMing style, and 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons as a whole. Throughout the campaign, alongside the great adventures, is us trying to get comfortable with the rules. There were times when we struggled a bit with 4th edition, but overall we found it an incredibly playable system. 4th edition is such a developed game that it does what it sets out to do really well. However, after years of weekly play, its shortcomings are rather apparent. Our encounter with Orcus is a perfect illustration of this. First of all, I had to rebuild Orcus. The monster design of 4th edition has progressed so much since the original monster manual was printed that the initial version of Orcus is nearly obsolete. I love creating monsters, and I have a really good grasp on current monster design, so this project was actually pretty interesting for me. However, if I was a newer DM, or a DM that didn't have expertise in the monster design theory, or a DM that just plain didn't know any better, this epic fight would have been an epic disappointment. It is kind of embarrassing when the ultimate bad guy on the cover of the edition's monster manual is not very good to use. In my rebuild, my main goal was to make Orcus more threatening to the characters, and to be able to withstand or at least mitigate the slew of debilitating effects the characters wielded. Had I not done the redesign, Orcus would have likely spent half the encounter or more stunned, immobilized, dazed, blinded, prone, and or with penalties to attacks and defenses. The party still managed to stun off one or two of his turns and bogged him down for a good few rounds with other effects, but they were never able to utterly cripple him the way that they can to standard monsters. I am including a link in the video description below so you can see my rebuild of Orcus, and even use him if your group fights him. The next issues I do have are with combat. 4th edition has many great elements to it, but at its core, it is a rule set focused on round-by-round combat. As a storyteller, and a lover of immersion and role-playing, I have to be clear in stating that the lore of 4th edition and the fluff side of things, as some people call it, is indeed great, though perhaps not quite implemented correctly early on in the edition. Anyways, here are my 3 main criticisms of the combat. Encounter length. The issue is that when an encounter goes on for 2, 3, or 4 hours, things just get mechanical. Standard action, move action, minor action. I use this power. My attack is 45 versus reflex. Hit. I do 36 damage and push it 2 squares. I'm done. My DMing style relies heavily upon narrative. It is hard to keep narrating and describing combat when things take so long. This problem is there at all levels of play, though the higher level you get, it does become more prevalent. Over-streamlined. Another criticism of combat is that each class has a very similar number of options. The at-will encounter daily power system is a really good system, but why does each class have to follow it? Honestly, it seems really good for a fighter, a rogue, a ranger, or other non-magic class. But why should a warlock or a wizard or cleric or druid know the same amount of powers? I know I'm fudging a little bit with the wizard due to its spellbook class feature, but even that doesn't change the amount of spells a wizard has access to during an encounter. It's just so strange that a magic user class can't learn more and has to cast the same 4 to 8 spells every single fight. Indistinguishable. The last criticism I'm going to bring up is that the feeling of using an iconic power has faded somewhat. I remember when casting spells like Fireball, Black Tentacles, and Fly actually meant something. Nowadays, everything is kind of averaged out and lost in the mix with tons of other powers that do similar things. Literally, you could have the following powers. You strike your foe's head with your bludgeon, dealing 2d10 damage and dazing him. You strike your foe with a shock of lightning, dealing 2d10 lightning damage and dazing him. You encase your foe with frigid ice, dealing 2d10 cold damage and dazing him. You dazzle your foe's mind, dealing 2d10 psychic damage and dazing him. You roar at your foe while you roundhouse kick his head, dealing 2d10 damage and dazing him. This could go on and on. I've said it before, and it bears repeating, that 4th edition's power balance and wide array of options is both its strength and its weakness. To be totally fair, I do still stick to my guns in that several classes truly benefit from this design, especially the non-magic classes. I would play a 4th edition barbarian or fighter any day of the week. I would not touch the things in 3rd edition. I don't want these criticisms to leave you with the sense that 4th edition is a bad system, or that things are hopeless. I am critical only because I want the system to strengthen, and I want my and everyone's gaming experience to be the best that it can be. There are solutions to all of these issues, from small to big, though discussing them is beyond the scope of this video. After a year and a half of high-complexity epic tier play, I am looking forward to running one final level 30 adventure, and you can bet that it is going to be something that focuses purely on fun and uniqueness. As far as the fight with Orcus goes, I did record the encounter, much in the same way that I'd done the Golden Wishes Shadowed Dreams adventure. I'd hoped to make a cool video of the party fighting the Demon Lord of Undeath himself. Sadly, I'm not going to be releasing that much of it. It just wouldn't be very entertaining to listen to 2 to 3 hours of the round-by-round movements and attacks. I won't leave you completely empty-handed, though, so I'm going to include a couple excerpts from the parties encountered with Orcus, mainly the beginning and the end sequence. And make sure to check out his remastered stat block in all of its chaotic evil glory. The heroes of Erland, you have tracked Orcus back to his hideout, this cavern of sorts, deep below the layer of the abyss known as Thanatos. You enter the final room in the cavern, and as before, the walls are made from flesh and bones, spikes, claws. Just looks like melded, grotesque amalgamation of pieces and tissue. There are all kinds of skulls and corpses placed into the wall here, many of which are dripping and pooling up with this liquid miasma. Some sort of substance, probably best left unspoken. And you see Orcus, the Demon Lord of Undeath himself, standing at the far end of the chamber with a few of the Rot Harbingers. And just for effect, I will just show you the cover of the monster manual.
That's nasty.
He looks really, really evil.
You enter the chamber. You see him standing there. He stares back at you. You can feel this sickening aura of death radiating off of him. He holds in his one hand this rod-like weapon implement with a glowing green skull atop of it, as you know is meant to be the skull of some god he slew long ago. He stares at you with his burning eyes.
There are little words to express the hatred I feel towards you all. I suppose I'll have to believe that you are actually here. Pawns of the gods, who tread where they dare not.
If pawns are going to beat you, then what does that say about you?
I stand in defiance of your words, Momo. It is I who shall be victorious.
Let's get on with it then.
Okay, the pack of spirit cats pounce on Orcus and begin shredding and tearing him with their claws and teeth, tearing out his hide and his putrescent flesh.
And then they take 5 damage. We told you we came to slay you, and you had no
I really wanted to
chance.
survive this encounter.
The day your world ends, I will be there, waiting.
Thus, a tremendous epic chapter in all of history closes. And for a moment, Asher reflects upon all that's gone into the history of these series of events, from the cult of Orcus and Balacroy and their dealings with the orphanage, to the Blood Gem, to the Lilybrooks, to the Blight and the Hexwood expeditions that the Order of Bane set forth on, and then the Order of Bane's eventual rise and then fall, the Battle of Ballycroy, the Hexwood War, Zundarith Cave, the quest to destroy the Blade of the Blood Lord, and finally this last chapter with Orcus' assault on the Citadel of the Raven Queen. The Raven Queen has been discorporated, but you have prevented his ritual from permanently defeating her and stealing her domain. You have tracked him to his last bastion and slain him.
Yep. So.
With this, assuredly Demogorgon will overrun the realm of Thanatos and take it over.
But, I
Well,
want to take his head as a trophy, and it's gonna be mounted.
Whose head is that, Orcus?
is his
Yeah.
wand still there?
His
Yeah.
wand is there.
You need
Yeah,
to
it's
take
his
wand.
wand.
The
Oh,
wand of
I take
Orcus
his
lays
wand.
there.
Don't touch it.
No, don't
Don't touch it.
touch it.
It is
You
no-
go to grab it and you hear Momo's voice in your head, and you're like, Momo would say don't touch it.
There's no
No.
way you touch something
Astro
like
says
that.
don't
There's
touch
no way
it.
it's not cursed.
But I'll shrink his head down if I have to. I mean, I have the shrink ritual.
Or you can use one of my many bags of holding. It's
Yeah,
not really
okay,
important.
that's fine. You sever the head of Orcus and you have it in all of its putrescent glory.
Yeah,
And should probably destroy the body, maybe?
sure.
Set it afire or whatever it takes.
Yeah, we can do that. Zerial can
Bash it to
blast
pieces.
it to pieces or use acid on it to melt it away. Acid orb.
Whatever it takes. Does it work?
You melt down Orcus's body into just slimy little grotesque bits that blend in with the nasty terrain that this entire area is composed
We
of.
searched his body first.
Yeah,
Oh yes.
obviously. You don't get to level 30. Level 29 is eventually not search before you destroy the body.
49 perception to search.
Yes, there indeed is treasure.
We can't just leave that wand here, though.
Yeah,
No.
it's put in a bag of
No,
holding.
I'm gonna do an Arcana check on it.
It's probably an artifact that we can't destroy right now.
Yeah.